SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Hello, good morning, and welcome. Thursday morning, it is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, available to you at SuperTalk TV. Many of you with it locked in right now on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio station, a dozen of those across the state of Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making us part of your routine. Thanks for including us in your morning, inviting us into your home, into your car, into your office, all that jazz. We appreciate it. We're glad to be with you. It feels amazing outside this morning. What did you have kind of the nip in the air, Lance, this morning when you stepped out of the house?
No. Humidity, rain, slow traffic, water everywhere, moistness. Galore.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Moist.
man. Nasty.
Moist
And nasty.
Why is that a word that so many people have problems with?
I don't know, man. I like that. I like the good old moisture in the air when it's, when you've been sweating and it's been hot. But no, man, it's been so humid around here for, a few days. You knew it was going to crack open at some point. So we've had plenty of rain in the last couple of days. I know the plants need it. And
that's right.
But no nip to the air this morning. There was a little breeze last night, but in between storms,
Brother, you know how it works this time of year. It's a little bit different the farther north you go.
Yeah.
In Oxford, where I walked out of the house this morning, 54 degrees.
It's funny you mentioned that. I saw
53% humidity.
Yeah. I saw somebody, it must have been on campus at an Army baseball game, and they had a picture, and everybody was bundled up. And this was over the weekend. So, exactly. This time of year, the spread is extremely wide on the temperature variation. And up there where it seems always you guys get a few degrees relief from the central area, though. Always for the better, In the summer, in the winter, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much of a break in the winter one way or the other. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors rooted in our community. Hogman says he is ready for the Black Bears this weekend. I don't think he's talking about hunting. I think Hogman is one of those guys that loves to be the rebel black bear shark. Blah, 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 blah. We love you, Hogman.
It ought to be a good series. They all are. Every
Razorbacks and the Black Bears, he says.
I think a bear would eat up a razorback pretty good, though. In the wild. Hopefully.
Probably. Depends on how big the razorback is.
Yeah. I've seen those black bears. We had a couple tranquilized on the property a few years ago when wildlife had to come out and tag them. That is not something. I mean, you think it's just a little teddy bear. And maybe when they're little babies and cubs, they are. But
not something with which to trifle.
That is a big beast. Beautiful, too, but sleeping, that they didn't look too imposing. But if you hear them snore or something, make you jump a little bit.
A snoring black bear.
What was it's not about to wake up, is it? Yeah, they're big.
Yeah. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. So much happening at C Spire. We've been telling you about it for weeks. The Ultimate Connect plan, a new phone, a new tablet, a new watch, 100 gigs of data, all for just $90. Good luck finding a deal better than that. Across the state today, weather's going to be all right. Iuka, you got a high of 72 degrees, mostly cloudy to overcast with perhaps some sprinkles along the way. Just going to be a mild, lovely final day of the month of April.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. It is the 30th.
Yeah.
I mean, blew by.
I had to do it in my head, too, just to be sure.
Yeah, it's like the
30
extra
days, half September, April,
Somebody
June,
taught us
November.
a hand trick. Remember that? It was on the text message.
Oh, yeah, it was Knuckles, right?
That's right. It was knuckles. Counting the knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to figure that one
January,
out.
February, March, April. I don't remember. Somebody's going to have to remind me what the knuckle trick was.
Pekin Valley or something.
Yeah,
I don't
something.
remember exactly.
What else we got? We got Cleveland, Mississippi, right there in the heart of the Mississippi Delta. About 73, maybe 74 for your high today. Mostly cloudy, possibly some sprinkles or light showers, only about a 30% chance of that. Winds out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. What about in the city that was too beautiful to burn, in Port Gibson, Mississippi? You've got a high temperature of about 79 degrees today. Overnight low in the low 60s, mostly cloudy. Chance of showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm, especially this afternoon and evening. Warmer and a little more humid, as Lance was telling you just a moment ago, than some of the northern parts of the state. How about Van Cleve? 80 degrees today in Van Cleve, mostly cloudy, isolated showers or thunderstorms possible, warm and humid. Chance of rain in the neighborhood of 50%. Coast has got big rain coming Friday and into Saturday, it appears. I was more in tune with the weather, Lance, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, or in coastal Mississippi, as our friend Ricky Matthews says, because I thought that's where I was headed this weekend.
Oh, would you have? You had a game to call?
No.
No.
State lacrosse playoffs.
Ah, yeah, back south again for that, huh?
Semifinals on Friday, championship game on Saturday.
How's lacrosse taking off across the South? Is it really kind of coming along?
It's slowly gaining traction. And I will admit I am very much late to the movement, but, man, it's a cool game.
Oh, it is, yeah. East Coast, like I said, I'm in the financial world, trained under some people that were, in the sport, a couple of real good ones. But I didn't know a whole lot about it until then. And I'm like, whoa, now this is serious stuff here.
It's the I've kind of described it as the running of soccer with like the physicality of hockey.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And it's interesting. Younger kids kind of trying to figure it out, but once the skill level grows and you get to, you got a bunch of kids that play football that are playing this, full grown young men, and it is physical. It's fun.
Well, and it's straightforward, too. It's not like cricket where, you've got a whole other world of stuff you've got to figure out. You got the boundaries and 6 balls over and bowlers and all that stuff. So
it's great. But we found out last night, because of the forecast and what the concern about field conditions were, Oxford going to be hosting the semifinals in the state championship this weekend. And the weather's going to be great, and so pretty fired up about that. One less weekend on the road. Amen and hallelujah.
There you go. It comes few and far between, right?
Yeah, they seem to. Man, we got so much to get to this morning. There is so much that is happening domestically, internationally, right here in Mississippi. Big guests, a lot of good stuff. So, yesterday I told you that Willie Nelson was born on this day in April 29th and was 93. Today, I will tell you that Willie Nelson was born on this day, April 30th, kind of. So the truth of the matter is he was born technically on April 29th, but his birth was only registered on April 30th. And he is celebrating his birthday, and so with the ambiguity or the confusion about when Willie Nelson's birthday actually is or was, you know what he decided to do? We'll just celebrate it twice.
Why not? Yeah.
And if Willie Nelson is going to celebrate his birthday twice, then who are we not to celebrate with him?
Dang it, I agree. You know, his sister lived to 91, too. They've got some genes now, because he's 93 now.
Yeah.
She passed in 2022 as a big part of the band.
Mornings of Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, just getting started. Thursday, April 30th. Was back with you right after this.
And a shooting dice. He's in the jailhouse now.
Good morning from the
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was thumbing from Montgomery. I had my guitar on my back when a stranger stopped beside me in an antique Cadillac. He was dressed like 1950, half drunk and hollow-eyed. He said, "It's a long walk to Nashville. Would you like to ride, son?"
Yesterday it was announced David Allen Coe has passed away at the age of 86. Passed away 5 o'clock Eastern yesterday in the hospital. No official cause of death has been released. Kind of had to be selective on which of his songs you played.
Yeah. The Ride was one I knew for a fact I could get through a minute.
It was all that I could do to keep from crying.
I think I saw him.
The legendary David Allen Coe.
I saw him back in college in Oxford.
I did too.
That wooden place. It's on the
It
west
used
side
to be,
of town.
Yeah, it's
What was
not
it?
there anymore.
No,
It used to
it's
be
gone.
Opals.
Opals, that was it. Yeah.
Yes.
Man, that was a show.
Man, there were all kinds of rumors about Opals through the years.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. There's a shopping center there now.
Yeah. A big liquor store and plenty of other goods.
Yeah.
Other dry goods. Rebel Rags would be happy to sell you.
Oh, no doubt. Kirsten Dunst was born on this day in 1982. Queen Mary II in 1662. David Thompson was an English-Canadian explorer and cartographer, born in 1770. Sheldon Harnick in 1924. One of Lance's favorite musical theater lyricists.
Yeah. Fiddler on the Roof, huh?
If I was a rich man, la da 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 da.
I love it.
Antonio Guterres, born in 1949, the 114th Prime Minister of Portugal, 9th Secretary General of the United States. He is serving in that role right now.
You know, the Prime Minister of Portugal would have to be a pretty good gig, you'd think.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful country, a lot of history. He's got his kind of own little thing going on over there. He's always been separatist for a long time.
Kind of in the shadow of Spain.
Don't hear a lot about them. You know, they're not on the front page all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually heard of people vacationing to Portugal more in the last, year than maybe in the previous 4 decades that I've been alive.
I don't know what the cost of living is there, but I know for a while it was a great place, underscored, not promoted as much, to retire.
Yeah, knew some people that went to Portugal spring break this past year.
Coming around. You don't want everybody to know about it, so we better
No, I was going to say, don't let it get too popular. We don't need it to become Santorini. 1789, George Washington inaugurated as the first president of these United States at Federal Hall in New York City, delivered the first presidential inaugural address. You sent that to me yesterday. Is there a part of his...
It's just so wordy and so different than what we're used to these days. You know, I mean, when you read... You try to read through that. You're wondering if anyone that was in the crowd actually could understand. I mean, the literacy rate would have been very low at that time.
You think he had Alexander Hamilton write it for him?
I don't know, but it is something to read. I mean, you're talking about wordy, man. I mean, and, you know, you get it being the first and all that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's one of those types of addresses where you're going, man, I don't know if anyone really could understand what he was saying because it's extremely deep, too.
Well, and I don't know that it was this way for all of the early founding fathers, but there is a song in the musical Hamilton where Alexander Hamilton's wife is reading his letters. I guess this was after his death. Or maybe it's while he's still alive, and she asked the question, why do you write like you're running out of time? It's like you write and you write and you write, and they wrote a lot in a time where there wasn't a lot that was written yet, and so, you know, those words were becoming the foundation of a country.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, people... look back and, you know, you realize that you have George Washington and all that goes into it. And I mean, even like with Ben Franklin, you know, his son, William, was like
what a great president.
Yeah. His son was stayed with the loyalist Brits, you know, and he and Benjamin Franklin never really spoke again after that. His only son, I mean, thinking of that, you know, what the embryonic stage of this country was. And how it came about, and those types of, you know,
man, it was hard and it was dark,
and then you had,
and it was bloody,
yeah, and then you had slavery, which was an English under the crown law, so you had to deal with that after you became free. So you had the beginning stages of what was to come with the Civil War as soon as you had a country, because nobody really agreed on that principle either. Mm-hmm. So there were so many things to deal with there, but. As Washington says, it was, you know, the Lord above, so to speak, is why we're here, and we always have to kind of remind ourselves of that. And so through the speech, I always found that just reading through some of that, he gets deep. But just kind of always going back to, we're fortunate to be able to be in this position.
Well, and, General Washington, amen to that.
Yes, sir, and take advantage of it is kind of, you know, the way he puts it.
Yeah. Let's zip through these. 1803, United States completes the purchase of Louisiana. The Louisiana Purchase, as it is generally referred to, buying approximately 828,000 square miles from France for $15 million.
Sounds like a deal to me.
9 years later, Louisiana became a state. 1812. Fast forwarding 130 years or so. Adolf and Eva bit the dust, committed suicide, cowards way out in their Berlin bunker as Soviet forces were closing in during the final days of World War II in Europe. 30 years after that, 1975, the fall of Saigon. North Vietnamese troops captured the South Vietnamese capital, effectively ending the Vietnam War. It was on this day in 1492 when Christopher Columbus received his royal commission from Spain's King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to sail to the New World. Charles Dickens published the first installment of A Tale of Two Cities, today in 1859, and in 1993, the European nuclear group CERN, C-E-R-N, announced that World Wide Web protocols would be free.
It's interesting that CERN did that. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Let's grab a couple of news headlines. Man, this story is fantastic. Coolest thing I've read in a while. You ready? Hancock County. Tip of the cap, boys and girls. Quick-thinking middle school students in Mississippi and Hancock County kept their school bus from crashing after their bus driver passed out on a 4-lane highway. Don't get me wrong, nothing nefarious with the bus driver. Don't pass judgment. The bus had just left Hancock Middle School on Wednesday with about 40 children on board when Leah Taylor, 46 years old, had an asthma attack. She reached for her medication but blacked out before she could get to it. At that point, 6th grader Jackson Kasnave, 12 years old, who was sitting directly behind the driver, realized the bus was beginning to swerve. He jumped up to steer the bus and told others to call for help. The young man said, "I didn't have time to process my emotions. I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay." Another sixth grader, 12-year-old Darius Clark, he jumped into action and hit the brakes on the bus, and together Darius and Jackson managed to maneuver the bus onto a median and put it in park. Well, Darius's older sister, 13-year-old Callais, was in the back of the bus. She ran to the front, called 911. Later said she could hardly even hear the emergency operator because so many students were screaming. And then an 8th grader, Destiny Cornelius, ran up to help, and she noticed that Taylor was holding, Taylor's the bus driver, a nebulizer. Just kind of had it in her hand. Cornelius administered the medicine, while a 13-year-old 6th grader, Mackenzie, held the bus driver's head up. And they grabbed the bus driver's phone that was ringing and told the district's transportation team what had happened. Bus driver said this, "I'm grateful for my students. They're the ones that saved my life and everybody else's on that bus." Students got a pep rally on Friday, and they're getting a lunch field trip in which they get to choose the restaurant they go to. Well done, kiddos. Great stuff.
From the Seabrook Dock.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the Super Talk app.
Walks down the street, he says, "Why am I short of attention? Got a short little span of attention, and oh, my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model now that my role model is gone? He ducked back down the alley with some...
Good morning, Paul Simon. Big fan. Big fan. Without having ever even really considered traveling there, I think I have become a big fan of Portugal as well, Lance.
Yes.
My goodness gracious, this country is beautiful.
It's beautiful. I've studied it a bit. That would be my first stop if I went to Europe.
Of course
right
you've
there.
studied it a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. We also had an ambassador from Mississippi that was over there for quite a bit. I'm trying to remember which one it was that was appointed. I think it was Palmer.
I don't know. Ambassador to Portugal. Doesn't sound like a terrible posting.
No.
Although, I will say, these ambassador gigs, I've learned a bit about that. I think I always thought that if you were appointed, an ambassador to another country, that, like you had some big expense account. Hey, this is what you're... I think generally speaking, if you're the ambassador for the United States to another country, you foot the bill for the entertainment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're the ambassador.
Yeah, John M. Palmer, that was him. November 5th, 01. Left post September 25th, 04.
Ambassador to Portugal,
Yes, sir. John M. Palmer. I always thought, I was like, man, I need to give him a holler, see if they need anybody over there that does not speak Portuguese well.
Yeah. Ron in Ocean Springs says that bus story made my morning. Those kids have been raised right.
Man, that was awesome.
Great parents.
Gracious. I
just
don't,
exceptional.
Yeah. It leaves you speechless, actually, a little bit.
Yeah.
Heroes, man. It's free lunch for the year for those two.
Yeah, no doubt. So can we help buy lunch at the restaurant of their choosing? Direct us how, please.
Yeah, there needs to be a GoFundMe campaign. Maybe y'all start that up. I'm sure there'll be a lot of folks that would enjoy contributing to that.
Man, Ingalls Shipbuilding just keeps on crushing it. They have earned a $283 million contract to prep for the construction of the U.S. Navy's new class of warships. As I read this story, it makes me believe that this is kind of what the plan was all along, what the process was. We know that Ingalls has received contracts for kind of the next line of frigates for the U.S. Navy in the billions of dollars, but this $283 million, if I'm reading this correctly, is kind of like a first draw. It's like their allocation to get everything ready so that when it's time to actually build ships, build great big ships together, like they are ready to hit the ground running. If you got the reference, bonus point for you. Contract allows Ingalls to procure long lead material, execute work, design work, and begin pre-construction activities for the first ship of the FFX class frigate. The Navy's new class of smaller combatant ships, the FFX, is a critical component of the military branch's fleet of the future. It will be a smaller, more agile surface combatant designed to complement the fleet's larger multi-mission warships and enhance operational flexibility. Ingalls will begin cutting and shaping raw material to support future phases of work on the main structure foundation and the overall construction sequencing plan of the first new warship. This approach is expected to enable a smooth transition from design to production and eventually across the industrial base.
Amazing there.
It really is.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, Ingalls is in the running with Bath Iron Works, which is General Dynamics, and Hanwha Philly Shipyard for the new Trump-class battleship, which they'll start building in 2028 to 2030. It's about a $40 billion project with the first one. The first battleship being built will be $17 billion. I believe there's 4 of them in that class for the Golden Fleet.
Yeah, wasn't the first one going to cost more than the subsequent?
Yeah, definitely. The first one's $17 billion. But that being said, Ingalls is in the running as well to be a part of or to get the whole contract, so to build them out. So they're on a roll.
Well, and to meet Navy demand and support the construction of next-generation platforms, perhaps to your point, Ingalls has invested more than $1 billion billion in modernizing its infrastructure, facilities, and tool sets. Ingalls, and I don't think that's like ratchets and hammers.
Yeah, I'd love to see the tool set. Yeah.
Like when I need to modernize my tool sets, like, get one of these closed-in wrenches with the built-in ratchet. The parent company, HII, is currently working to expand shipbuilding capacity, not just at Ingalls, but across the United States.
Don't you love the word frigate? It's like a cuss word a sailor would use, you know?
Yes, I do. Frigate. I love the word frigate. And you do a double take when you see it, Frigate. You're like, is that frigate? Frigate? Is it Frito? What? Frigate. Yes. That is outstanding. Good call.
Thank you, sir.
Mike in Tishomingo. Mike, I choose to believe that kids, even in California, have the ability to do heroic things. He said, could you imagine if that bus incident had happened in California, the kids would have been screaming for Alexa to stop the bus.
They've been hollering into their watch. Chat GPT, please. Engage.
Oh, me. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is backing a bill aimed at lowering fertilizer costs for farmers nationwide. The Lowering Input Cost for America Farmers Act would eliminate tariffs and other fees on phosphate fertilizer imports from Morocco. Morocco, one of the leading global players in the phosphate fertilizer industry. They control about 70% of the world's phosphate rock reserves. Morocco, close to Portugal. Though I'm not terribly interested in hanging out in Morocco.
Hop, skip, and jump.
Yeah.
Got to go through Gibraltar.
Got the markets in Marrakesh, I believe, in Morocco. It can be a little rough, I think. Cindy Hyde-Smith on the Senate Ag Committee represents, obviously, Mississippi, huge agriculture state. American Farm Bureau Federation survey released in April found fertilizer costs have risen sharply in recent months. They didn't even have to do a survey. They could have just asked farmers, which I guess is kind of what the survey is. Prices for key inputs such as nitrogen have increased. Nitrogen fertilizers have increased by more than 30%. Urea, about 47%. Phosphate fertilizers have climbed significantly, rising from $583 a ton in January of 2025 to $800 a ton in August of 2025. Bill supported by major farm groups, the National Cotton Council, USA Rice, American Soybean Association, American Farm Bureau, and others. It has been referred to the Senate Finance Committee, where that's got to get approval before heading to the floor. A couple of sports updates for you. Your morning sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is your home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Live dead. After spending recent weeks on life support, Live Golf has lost the funding of its Saudi backers. MBS couldn't make enough birdies, and he's like, I hate this game. We're not supporting it anymore.
This grass costs too much.
These stupid robes get in the way of my backswing.
That would be a tough one.
Liv plans to tell players and staff by Thursday that Saudi Arabia's PIF will no longer bankroll the circuit after this season. I got bad news. We've already told the players. That's according to people familiar. It's the death knell for the upstart that sowed chaos in professional golf by plowing billions into the sport and poaching A-list players. Writing's been on the wall for a bit. Liv is seeking outside investors to keep it afloat. It will be nearly impossible for it to exist bearing any resemblance to its current form after the Saudis flushed billions of dollars down the toilet in this endeavor, giving massive amounts of money to prominent players like Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm.
That was always a weird deal to me, but...
Yeah, it was a pretty weird deal. Pretty weird deal. Almost like the PGA Tour is too big to fail.
Yeah.
And there were some things that needed to be done. All right, we are headed toward weekend number 8 in SEC baseball. Georgia on top of the conference standings at 15-6. Followed by Texas A&M at 14-6. Texas at 13-7. Mississippi State is 13-8. Just 2 games out of first place. Auburn 12-9, Arkansas, Florida, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, all 11-10. Alabama, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, all 10-11. Missouri, Hind, well, you know the rest. They are 4-17. That is your LSU 6-15. Good gravy. LSU behind South Carolina in the standings. They fired their coach. Sports Update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
Good morning from the...
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mississippi Lottery Update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. There was a winner. Powerball tickets purchased in Indiana and Kansas won the estimated $143 million jackpot. Had an estimated cash value of $65 million, but there was one Mississippi player that won $1 million after purchasing a ticket at Doc's Quick Stop Exxon in Byhalia. Matched 5 out of 5 white balls. That person wisely bought the dollar power play add-on, so that $1 million turned into $2 million. Jackpot for Saturday, May 2nd goes back to $20 million. $9 million, the estimated cash value. So they got to split the jackpot. Can you just be filled with gratitude for winning and not frustration for not being a single ticket winner?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Got to share sometimes.
That $32.5 million in your pocket is not going to make you sad that it wasn't $65 million?
No.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
You're a good person.
No sour grapes.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Next Mega Millions drawing coming up on Friday. It's 178, $79.6 million, the estimated cash value. Lotto America getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Saturday going to be the third largest jackpot, $23.85 million with an estimated cash value of almost $11 million. Check winning numbers or see if your ticket is a winner by downloading the Mississippi Lottery official app. Here's what's coming up this morning. I understand that you've got lots going on, kids to school, work to do, got to get another load of laundry in, need to clean up the kitchen before you leave the house, breakfast, kids, blah, 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 blah. Right now might be the time to make sure that you've got the SuperTalk app that is free in the App Store, because I don't think you want to miss much of this morning. LouAnn Woodward and Alan Jones from UMMC are going to stop by about 25 minutes from right now. We're talking $100 million plus raised and $100 million allocated, and the Cancer Center no longer being a really pretty display chart where we're talking about, what this could mean. It is a reality now. It is real. It is time to put shovels in the ground. What's next? We'll talk with them about that and other things that are happening at UMMC.
Hey, I'll say this, as an addition, I won't make it long-winded. My father, being a client of theirs through cancer treatment with the facilities they have, they were amazing and have been and still are. I can't imagine the difference.
About to ramp it up, about to turn it up a notch, Lance.
I'm so proud of this state, too, for recognizing a need and funding it. There are so many Mississippians that will benefit immensely. My father almost had to go all the way out to Texas, and they went out there, and they told him, look, we're going to kill you out here with what we have to do. It's going to be too hard. You don't need to be living here doing all this. So they took a risk and kept him here, but having that facility is going to mean so much to so many lives here in the state of Mississippi. So kudos, state. Good
Outstanding.
job.
Old Professor JT's in the news again. You remember that cat from a few years ago? Not exactly Ole Miss's finest.
No.
Has he done enough that he can... hold on a second. Hold on. I don't like to be in the business of advocating people losing their jobs. I just wish he were employed elsewhere.
I don't know if he's employable elsewhere, maybe.
I wonder if the next time we have some of those NASA cats do the whole dark side of the moon thing, what if there's a job market there? I don't know.
Hey, you got to dig a ditch there too, right?
I wish no ill will on old Professor JT, which can't really be said for the same for how he feels about the President of the United States. Kinney Ferris, the executive director at Visit Oxford, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We will get the numbers, the data, and the details from Double Decker. How did it play out Also a new emphasis, an increased emphasis on recruiting from Visit Oxford. We'll tell you what that means. And thanks for his time in advance, a late edition last night, our good friend, Professor Christopher Green, a constitutional scholar, a Supreme Court studier and expert. He will help us understand and break down exactly what happened yesterday in Louisiana versus Callais. I will tell you this. Democrats seem worried, very worried. Republicans seem jubilant. Are Republicans over-celebrating? Or is this going to be the time that Republicans have an opportunity and then they take advantage of it? We'll roll on after this. News is next. Mornings with Richard Cross.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers. From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
7 o'clock hour, Thursday morning, April 30th. This is MRC, Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thank you for being with us. We are presented every single day by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, we're your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. Dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Thanks for joining us today. The C Spire text line is open to you. 601-879-4395. Again, it's 601-879-4395. C Spire has the Ultimate Connect bundle for you right now. New and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet, plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. That includes the new iPhone 17 and the Samsung Galaxy S26. It's free. Smartwatch is free. Tablet is free. So don't wait. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com or stop by your local C Spire store today. People are mad because Donald Trump will not play in their play field and they cannot own him. If people would just look, I think he's doing a good job, says Joey the trucker on the C Spire text line.
Think about how much more he could do if the Republicans would get some stuff done.
Well, the first, do you know Drudge Report now has a Donald Trump countdown clock ticker?
For like when something's going to be announced, or
no, until he's done with this presidency. It's like
okay.
997 remaining days or
Gotcha.
something. Here's the thing about the last 400 days or so. Guess probably a little bit longer than that. 500 days. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. There have been some highs. I mean, just burst out of the gate. The executive orders, the work on the border, and then there have been some lows. Very mixed reviews on tariffs. And then some highs, roaring stock market, some lows, gas prices are high. Few gaffes, some, that was uncomfortable. Please, Mr. President, don't do that. But I'm going to tell you what, the last week and a half, feels like the president's on a bit of a heater. Lot of winning for his team. I don't know if yesterday at the Supreme Court is more significant than Roe v. Wade. I don't know. And maybe it depends fully on the lens through which you look. If you believe in the sanctity of life and you are a pro-life advocate, there's probably nothing that the Supreme Court can ever do, in your mind, that would be more important than overturning Roe v. Wade. But if that is not the lens through which you are looking, if you are simply looking at the future of the United States based on what you believe politically, if you believe that conservative principles for governing, conservative values for living are the things that make the United States the best place that it can be, then yesterday is extremely significant. There is an element of the reaction to yesterday's Louisiana versus Callais decision that I can't help but wonder if there's a little bit of the left is overreacting a bit, but the right's about to get a penalty flag for excessive celebration and is overreacting a little bit too. I don't know, though, yet. We're going to have to see how it plays out. And here's the thing that is concerning to me is sometimes the right, Republicans, conservatives, however you want to describe it, sometimes the right is handed a platter. Beautiful etched silver, big red juicy strawberries and champagne and, just the finest, just here you go, it's yours. And the person that takes the handoff of the platter starts wobbling, and those glasses start shaking, and one of them falls off, and it cracks a little. Like, this silver platter that was handed to the right needs to be carried carefully and confidently. You don't need two different waiters who want to carry the silver platter fighting with each other over who gets to carry it. You certainly don't need to drop the platter. Outrage from the left. I am not going to attempt to dive into the Article 14, Section 2. I'm going to hold that for Christopher Green, our constitutional and Supreme Court expert that's going to join us in the other, coming up a little bit later. But a section of the Voter Rights Act of 1965, 4, was overturned with this ruling yesterday. The Supreme Court said yesterday, basically, you cannot draw voting districts based solely on race. You would think that all of us as Americans would stand up and applaud. And we would say, this is outstanding, this is a win. The right is standing up and applauding because they believe it is a win for them. The left is crying Jim Crow, racism. Oh, the line, was it the line that John Roberts wrote in the opinion or was attributed to him? The best way to stop being racist is to stop being racist. What a profound statement. The best way to stop racism is to stop being a racist. And so, in terms of saying, in saying you cannot create voting district lines based solely on race, the Supreme Court effectively said, we're not going to let you be racist so that we can stop racism. But Democrats, many black Democrats in particular, have said, oh, this is disenfranchising. Oh, it's going to lead to less representation of people of color. The point is, the color of our skin shouldn't matter about where we go to a poll. Voting rights should be about access, freedom, fairness, openness to all, so that you, regardless of where you live, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your level of education, if you are a United States citizen, you should be able to go to the polling place of your choice. I'm sorry, not of your choice. The polling place where you are registered to vote without any fear of condemnation, without any fear of intimidation. And you should be able to go and, based on the names on the ballot, cast your vote for the candidate that you believe is best fit to represent you. And it should have absolutely nothing to do with the color of your skin. We got more coming up. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Format of this show is such that we have to start and stop on conversations from time to time. So we will press pause on the conversation about the Supreme Court's ruling from yesterday in Louisiana versus Callais, because we have got something that is very exciting, in my view, to talk about. I'm not sure when my level of excitement kind of went off the charts on this. Maybe as it became more and more close to becoming reality. Doctors LouAnn Woodward and Alan Jones join us right now from the University of Mississippi Medical Center. I guess it was a couple of years ago when we first talked about the possibility of a cancer center, about this big, audacious goal and dream and plan. And Dr. Jones is spouting off this crazy stuff about we're gonna have this elite designation as a cancer and research center, and Dr. Woodward's telling us we're gonna build this crown jewel of a building. Then you got to go out and raise the money, and then you need the legislature to say, "Oh yeah, we'll chip in too." And all of those things have happened and are happening. I guess congratulations, nearly or over $100 million raised. The legislature says, "Here's $100 million. Let's roll." What are we waiting on now? Let's get this thing going.
We are on your team. I love the way you put that. Yes, we are also very, very excited. Just as you mentioned, all of this planning and laying the groundwork started several years ago. This is, even though we're super excited and we're about to see some great momentum and have great momentum, and have a groundbreaking this calendar year and all the things, this isn't a 1-year project. It's not a 2-year project. It's not a 3-year project. This is a multiple-year project to really achieve what we are working toward, which is the building, which is kind of what people are really talking about right now. But also, even more important is that designation as an NCI designated cancer center. So at the same time, we've got lots of efforts going toward getting to that groundbreaking later this summer. There are lots of efforts also going toward that NCI designation, because when you look out into the future, 20, 25 years from now, that is what is going to change the way cancer care looks like in the state of Mississippi and cancer outcomes.
Dr. Jones, I guess this probably, if I remember correctly, the NCI designation and chasing this is kind of the thing that is on your desk at the top of your priority list. Is that accurate?
It is one of the things. Yes.
I know it's a team effort, but that's so. What relationship exists between this facility and achieving that NCI designation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. People ask that a lot. So, the NCI designation is really a research designation. It is a recognition that you've achieved a certain amount of research funding that's qualifying in certain programmatic areas focused on cancer. Okay. You have to have at least three programmatic areas. And part of the application presupposes that you have adequate clinical space to take care of patients. So, obviously the reason that we do research is so that we can discover new treatments that can cure patients or make them better. And so, you don't necessarily have to have a new building, but you do have to have adequate space. Now, for us, and one of the issues that a lot of hospitals and health systems deal with is if cancer care is disconnected, meaning you have to go to one building to see the doctor and another building to get a CT scan and another building to get an infusion, it becomes very discombobulating to the patient, and it's not the type of care that you want to provide because all of the people having to think about this patient aren't in the same place. And it's stressful for the patient to have to move around and talk to different people who aren't talking to each other in the same room during an event that is the most stressful time of their life. So, really having one place where everybody that takes care of the patient can meet in the same room, in the same building, and talk about that patient and talk to that patient. And then the patient just knows, this is where I go. They're going to take care of everything I need right there. That is a very patient-centered way to deliver this type of care, and that's what we're trying to achieve with the designation.
You have answered this before, and I don't remember the answer. How many NCI-designated hospitals or cancer centers are there in the country?
I can't remember the exact number, but it's like around 60, I think.
Okay.
57, Mark just told me.
Closer to 70.
Oh, closer to 70. Okay.
Okay, but not a lot. I mean, we've got 50 states, and certainly not every state has one of those. Do you have any idea how many of those are teaching hospitals, university-based hospitals?
Most of them are teaching-based hospitals, but there are private cancer centers, and then there are multiple teaching hospitals that have multiple cancer centers. If you think about a Mayo, Mayo has one in Rochester, they have one in Jacksonville, they have one in Scottsdale. So there's lots of different ways that this can be organized, and then there are also different types of designation. You have to start with a primary cancer center designation, and then you move to a comprehensive. That's just the way the application works. And
is comprehensive, does that mean more areas of specialty?
It means that you've achieved the highest level. Okay. So with research and clinical care, you've kind of achieved the highest level. You can be just a research designated cancer center. You can be a clinical designated cancer center, and then you can move to the comprehensive.
Dr. Woodward, this all started as a dream, and maybe it started on a whiteboard somewhere, and it's kind of moved along the way. The Lieutenant Governor was on with me yesterday, and we were having kind of a real estate conversation about where it was going to be located, and I was mentioning a different area, and he said, well, no, it's not big enough. He said, because this is just step one. So in terms of dreaming and dreaming big, I think his point was, this is the start of this cancer center, but inevitably over the next couple of decades, this is a project that will grow beyond what the initial plans are. What might that look like over the course of the next 20 years?
So our intended location, the place where we'll break ground and we're going to build this, I shouldn't say intended location, our designated location, is the space across the street from the medical center, across State Street, in front of the stadium and that stadium parking lot.
Right.
So, in the future, looking out into the future and assuming that at some point Jackson State gets a different stadium, that property and that space then becomes expansion space for this cancer center. And as we have had conversations with people in other states and talking to them about their cancer center and their programs, one of the things that has really been striking to us is once they got this initial building up and got this initial project kind of underway, that they quickly outgrew the space, and the demand was there for more services and the need was there for more research space. So, when you look out into the future, we very much imagine that this is sort of phase one. It's a big one, and we've got to get it done before we start really, in our mind, going to the next things.
Right.
But certainly, the intention is that there will be needed growth in the clinical areas, in the research space, and in all of those things that support patients that are undergoing cancer treatment.
If somebody wanted to take a pessimistic view of this, they could look at a massive project like this and be like, well, that's a vanity project for someone. That's somebody that's going to be able to put this on their resume. But the practical nature of this in our state, the state of Mississippi, is about need, right?
Oh my goodness. You mentioned that not every state has one of these. And if you look around the state of Mississippi, Louisiana does not, Arkansas does not. So our citizens are traveling very often to Houston, Texas, to MD Anderson. They're going to Birmingham, UAB, Nashville, to Vanderbilt. But not all of our citizens.
And thank God for those places.
Right. But not all of the people in Mississippi can just hop in the car and go do that. And the need is just undeniable when you look at our cancer outcomes as a state. We're the worst in the country. We are the worst in the country. And I think I've shared this with you before. If you drill that's kind of the headline. If you drill down just a little bit more beneath that headline and look at cancer outcomes for specific groups in specific parts of our state, Black men in the Mississippi Delta have cancer outcomes that are equal to some of the worst in the world. So, and as we have talked to both donors in the philanthropic world and then, of course, our legislators and the politicians, nobody disputes or argues that this is not a need. Everybody's had cancer touch their family in some way or another, and the explaining that this is a real need has not been a challenge. People understand that.
Yeah. We're going to continue the conversation with Drs. LouAnn Woodward and Alan Jones from the University of Mississippi Medical Center. The news is still fairly recent that the legislature allocated $100 million to go along with the more than $100 million that has already been raised toward, or pledged at least, toward this facility. We'll continue the conversation next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. We're back with you right after this.
I reach out from the inside.
From the Seabrook.com.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
My rose.
Good morning once again. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. Your message is overwhelmingly positive as we talk about the new cancer center and this chase for NCI designation for UMMC. As both of you know, if you have tried to build anything, what it costs today is not what it costs tomorrow. And sometimes that number is even exponential. This is a $250 million project. Is there a recognition of cost going up? What's it actually going to cost to go through this construction project?
So there's always a recognition of costs going up because, goodness, we've certainly seen that in the last 5-6 years, and I guess forever. But when you're taking on a project like this, you really have to kind of set that goal and say, okay, this is the number. You have to make a lot of hard decisions to control cost. Saying all of that, we do know that there may be a little bit of wiggle room, but we're not going into this saying, oh well, it's 250, but if it jumps up to 300 or 350, that's okay. We've got to have the discipline to manage to our target and what we're working toward.
If you're going to build a house, you hire an architect, or maybe you're really talented yourself and you pull out a napkin and you draw the plans. Who designs a cancer center?
So we have been in the process of putting out the request for proposals and receiving those proposals and talking to the folks who will build this and will design it. And it would be premature at this point to kind of make that announcement and say who it is. Some of those conversations are still ongoing. But certainly for a project like this, you hire professionals who know what they're doing and who've done it before. So
there are architecture firms that specialize in cutting-edge hospital facilities?
Yes.
Okay. We were talking about outcomes in Mississippi and a goal to improve outcomes. Is there data that points to improved cancer outcomes for states or regions based on cancer centers going into place, NCI designation being granted?
100%, and that is kind of what has convinced us to drive so hard. Is there is data that you can see from around the country that outcomes improve when patients are treated at the NCI designated cancer centers, and even though the focus is cancer, and that is of course the goal, what people have seen is even outcomes in other diseases. It's kind of like the rising tide that lifts all boats. The infrastructure that is needed for that NCI designated designation from the standpoint of research and clinical care, builds expertise and higher quality even in other areas, other diseases. So it is one of those things that improves outcomes for cancer, and people see down the road that it improves outcomes for other things as well when you've got that research horsepower infrastructure.
If I could just add to that real quick.
Please.
The data that Dr. Woodward is referencing suggests that there's about a 25% increase in outcomes, remission rates or cures, if you're treated at or in conjunction with. That's a key thing to point out, because the concept that we're chasing here is not that we need to treat every patient. It's that we need to have this resource in the state. There's plenty of patients that can be treated in their community, at their local hospitals, at their local cancer centers, and that needs to happen. But they need to have the ability to use our protocols or call us or use our resources when those resources that they have locally don't support what's needed. So the data is really compelling, not just about treatment at one site, but that halo effect of treatment in coordination with an NCI designated center.
That's really interesting to me, because one of the things that we know about MD Anderson is they have shared protocols with hospitals in other states. We know that about St. Jude and the research that happens there and the work that they do in terms of sharing protocols and best practices with other children's hospitals. So is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's part of it. It would be everything from sharing protocols, being able to refer to a subspecialist, super subspecialist that can give the opinion nothing else can be done, or this is what you should or shouldn't do. Clinical trials, the ability to enter a patient into a clinical trial that oftentimes is an ongoing thing, and they can still go back to their community and get baseline treatments in their community. So there's a lot of ways that an NCI designated center can support community treatment, community oncologists, radiation oncologists, and those that are treating the patient beyond just you need to come to our facility.
And Richard, if I could add this, so I want to give a shout out to Dr. Rod Riccone. He is our Cancer Center and Research Institute director. He is the one at the tip of this spear, recruiting the researchers, building the programs, and all the things, and not waiting to that point when we open this building or when we get this designation. He is now every day currently going out and meeting with the oncologists across the state, the people who are not part of our team but are across the state taking care of cancer patients every day, to see how currently, in the current menu of resources that we have, how can we help you? How can we support you? What do you most need? I can't emphasize enough what Dr. Jones said, that this is not just about us at the medical center taking care of patients. This is about changing the way cancer patients are taken care of in the entire state, and helping back up and give resources and support to people who might be in Tupelo or on the coast or, in Greenwood, wherever it is, taking care of cancer patients, and they get to the point where they need a little help, they need a little more expertise, they need something else for their patients that they don't have. We want to support them and the patients as close to home as possible.
We've talked before about the fact that an overwhelming majority of the students that go to med school at UMMC are Mississippi residents.
100%.
All 100%.
100%.
Which, by the way, is an overwhelming majority.
You're correct.
So it's all Mississippi students who are going to med school at UMMC. We get a message here on the C Spire text line. Larry says, "I'm so happy about the Cancer Center on many levels, including my son is in med school at UMMC right now. This may keep him in the state. He wants to do research. He wants to specialize."
We hope so.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm getting at, is in terms of student retention, because we talk all the time about brain drain and wanting to keep people in state, especially our medical professionals. Is there an element of that goes along with what we're talking about, the Cancer Center and
Yes.
the NCI designation?
Working at an NCI designated cancer center is very attractive for both the researchers and the super specialized clinicians, especially who are focusing on cancer care and want to work at one of those, top level gold star kind of facilities. So it does help us keep our talent in Mississippi. And, at the end of the day, every single thing we do at the medical center is all about the health and the health outcomes of Mississippi. Every single thing we do, whether it's growing the class size in the med school or doing something like this. And when they kind of merge and that synergy comes together, and we've got students like his son that he's mentioning that is a Mississippian that wants to take care of cancer patients, that wants to be in research and wants to stay in Mississippi to do it, that's a touchdown for us. I mean, That's the whole reason we're doing.
That's a national championship.
That's the national championship. That's right.
I'm going to ask you a question that I'm afraid you're going to say I can't talk about that, but I've got to ask it anyway. And I ask it because it's very much in the public domain. There's been a lot of talk about Greenwood LaFleur and the hospital system that's there, and this conversation that's existing about the possibility of it coming under the UMMC umbrella. Is there anything that you can say about that publicly on progress there?
So, what I would say is that we have been in talks with the folks in Greenwood. We were asked back in the fall to take a look at it and to engage with them and to see, that I think it's well known that they're having some struggles and whatnot. Sure. So we are in talks with them to see what a potential partnership or transition might look like. It is heavily lawyer involved right now, so you can't get into the weeds, but we are working on it, and we are in talks with them on a regular basis.
Is there positive momentum there?
It's a challenge, but I think it's a challenge tinged with positive momentum. Fair. It's a work in progress, and it's a big hill to climb, but everybody's trying to go up it.
I would say on that real quick that people don't seem to always know we have lots of steps we have to go through. We're a state agency. We have
Right.
a lot of different processes, and we're working through those processes.
Okay, good news. 30 seconds, probably not time to do this, but I'll ask it anyway. We're seeing the growth of UMMC in lots of pockets of the state with clinics and outpatient clinics as well. Is there any concern about being too big, or is that not in the equation?
So the demand for our services, it is higher than we can meet, and we are working and growing to meet it as fast as we can. We're trying on our main campus to have those services that can only be done at an academic medical center, and then support services across the state in other ways.
Thanks so much for your time.
I see the time.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important. Huge news.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
So much information to get in and so little time on this Thursday morning, April 30th. My sincere thanks to Dr. LouAnn Woodward and Dr. Alan Jones from the University of Mississippi Medical Center for joining us. Man, there's a lot to celebrate right now with the future of the Cancer Center, the chase for that National Cancer Institute designation. That's based on, as you heard Dr. Jones say, both research and capacity. Lot to really be excited about. And there are so many people that are involved in this, both publicly and behind the scenes. The legislature deserves a ton of credit with the support of the governor for the allocation of $100 million out of the CapEx funds that the state has available to really get this project rolling. But that happened after a conversation a year, maybe even a couple of years ago, when folks at UMMC said, hey, this is what we are trying to do and we need your help, but we're not asking you, the legislature, which, by the way, ultimately is the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi, we're not asking you to do this for us. We want to work in conjunction with you. And they've gone out and through the generosity of individuals, through the generosity of corporations and foundations, they have raised well over $100 million in the early phase of the fundraising process. And in some ways, the money that the state has allocated, the legislature, in conjunction with the governor's office, have allocated, is a match for the money that has been raised. And so this is a lot of people grabbing onto a rope and pulling in the same direction. You would love for a project like this, once you're like, all right, we got all the money, to be able to snap your fingers and the doors are open. You heard Dr. Woodward say, this is not a one-year project. It's not a 2-year project. It's a long-term construction and implementation project. And it's happening like you've got multiple channels, right? There's the construction piece and the staffing piece, and then that NCI designation piece where Dr. Riccone is leading the effort there to have researchers say, I'm going to come on board, have specialists say, oh, we're going to come on board. And so there's a lot that goes into this, and I know Dr. Woodward and Dr. Jones have a lot on their plates, and I appreciate them making time to visit with us this morning. I started asking, hey, can we get them on as soon as the legislature approved that $100 million, and today was the day that we were able to get that scheduled. So my thanks to both of them. Congratulations, and don't stop now, because there's a lot of work that still has to happen. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Somebody says, ton of credit. How about the taxpayers? We funded it. Did you miss the part where I just said the taxpayers of Mississippi when the legislature allocates that $100 million. So I said a second ago, there are those who will find a pessimistic way to look at this process, and this we get on the C Spire text line. So now my tax dollars will be used to build a new stadium for Jackson State. I see the plan now, all for the center. The rest of that plan does not work, period. What? Goes on to say, how about the taxpayers? We funded it. I cannot find my way to brag on this legislature that is wasting up to $120 million due to being so childish they can't agree to change reporting procedures. You're talking about SNAP benefits. Spent a lot of time on that yesterday. Yes, I read the rest of it. I would encourage you, if you missed yesterday's show, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the SNAP benefits and the error rate reporting. And I'm with you, right? I am 100% with you. When we look at the fact that the state of Mississippi, due to the language in the One Big Beautiful Bill, along with 42 other states, as the legislation exists right now, is going to have a fine, a liability that they're going to have to pay for the federal government. I was encouraged to tell you yesterday that nobody is sitting on their hands going, oh, we're going to have to pay $100 million this year and we're going to have to pay $100 million next year. They are actively working on processes and technology that are going to help lower the rates. I don't necessarily agree with the stance that we stick with change reporting on a monthly basis. I think the 6-month reporting and simple reporting would make a difference. Not everybody agrees with me on that, and that's okay. But the idea that going to simple reporting every 6 months versus change reporting on a monthly basis as it exists right now is not the silver bullet that makes our error rates go away. I think it might help, but it doesn't make it go away.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. If you're with us on a daily basis, I know sometimes it sounds like I repeat myself. And like, oh, you talked about that yesterday, but I am reminded as we get messages on the C Spire text line that we have a transient audience. Not everybody is able to listen every day. Sometimes there are things that we have been talking about for weeks, if not months. And people are like, wait, what are you talking about? And so that's the reason that we continue to talk and repeat and hammer on some of the same things day in and day out. And part of that is related to the SNAP benefits conversation. I'll read John in Waynesboro's message here in just a second and respond to that. First, though, I remind you that Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Thanks for joining us on Mornings with Richard Cross. The 7 o'clock hour, as it is every single day, was brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Call them today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Let's see here. Let's read John's message quickly. He goes, hold on a second. You're telling me that the central government, deriving its only authority from the people of the several states and enjoying those powers only expressly granted under the Constitution, with all other powers reserved to the several states, is levying fine against states? It's almost like the states have been stripped of their sovereignty. It's crazy, says John in Waynesboro. States' rights is probably a different conversation altogether, John. But specific to your message, as it pertains to the SNAP benefit error rates, the central authority, as you describe it, is actually, in this case, mandating accountability from the states for the federal dollars, yes, your tax dollars, which are being allocated for state-level administration and distribution of welfare benefits, specifically SNAP in this case. And there is a fine structure in place to make the states do better in terms of fraud. When you go back and you look at where Mississippi is in terms of a philosophical stance about welfare, and honestly, this goes back to Kirk Fordyce. Kirk Fordyce, moving forward with governors since we have had, the overriding philosophical stance about Mississippi as it pertains to welfare, and we're really talking about SNAP benefits and Medicaid. That belief is we want as few people on federal benefits as is possible. Specifically to this governor, to Tate Reeves, his stance has been, and I think will continue to be, and you can literally find a speech a month from the entire time he has been in office, where he has been banging the drum for raising the wage for Mississippians. And showing that if we can get more people out of poverty to a reasonable living wage, then many of the problems that we have as a state can be eradicated. You may say that's pie in the sky. You may disagree with Governor Reeves on this issue or every issue, but at least philosophically, that makes a lot of sense. And it's what has driven the economic development work during the Reeves administration in particular and prior. That's what has driven this policy of we want companies here doing business. We want good paying jobs for Mississippians so they can grow. And again, you may not agree with that philosophy. I'm just kind of telling you that's where we are as a state. Another message on the ceasefire text line. Even we daily listeners miss segments in interviews, and I, for one, don't mind it at all. It's important for Mississippi. If it's important for Mississippi, keep repeating it. Trying to do that. I get another message. This is actually on text. Somebody said, some of the people that are so pessimistic about UMMC's cancer center, and I don't think there are many. There's some, but I don't think there are many, should drive through the medical corridor in Houston. Imagine the research, the lives we can save, and the tax dollars that will be generated for the state of Mississippi. That medical corridor in Houston employs between 110 and 120,000 people. And MD Anderson is the entity that gets all of the headlines for that Houston medical corridor. But there are multiple hospitals, kind of all around Rice's campus, over close to where Joel Osteen's church is. Was that Lakewood? Is that the name of that? Maybe I made that up. That may not be right. I think it's Lakewood, though. Anyway, there are, in that area, countless hotels, countless outpatient facilities, multiple hospitals, MD Anderson, the Cancer Center, Texas Children's Hospital, and on and on. And that is not going to happen overnight in Jackson, Mississippi, but it has been happening, and if you believe what the lieutenant governor said, if you believe what LouAnn Woodward said and Dr. Jones said, Dr. LouAnn Woodward and Dr. Alan Jones, then you recognize that this is the next step in that process. Is Jackson, Mississippi going to become a medical hub for the entire Southeast? I don't know. But Jackson's going to be a whole lot easier to get to for folks on the coast, for folks in North Louisiana, for folks in Southeast Arkansas. In some cases, for people in Southwest Alabama. And so it's not going to be just for Mississippi. You're going to draw from an entire region for that. You have the hospital, the University of Mississippi Medical Center, a teaching hospital. You have Children's of Mississippi and the Blairy Batson Tower and just the unbelievable work that they have done there. And now you have this cancer center that is on the way while also chasing the National Cancer Institute designation. This is an absolute home run for Mississippi. And maybe I should have been more specific earlier when I said the legislature. I want to give credit, though, to everybody in the legislature, the 52 senators, the 122 members of the House of Representatives, but also the leadership. Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann championed this. He didn't do it without questions. He didn't do it where he just wrote a blank check or said, hey, we're on board with this regard. He had lots of questions, and there was lots of debate, but ultimately the lieutenant governor was a huge champion of this. The Speaker of the House, Jason White, a huge champion of this. The appropriators, I'll call them out because I know they were involved with it, but there are others that were involved as well. Senator Briggs Hobson and State Representative Clay DeWeese worked tirelessly to get this $100 million allocation across the finish line, and the governor had to sign off on it in the appropriations bill, the spending of the CapEx funds that are going to go. So, for and deservedly so, the shade that I and others sometimes throw at the legislature for fighting amongst themselves and Republicans can't get along and can't get everybody on the same page. This was not just one group or another group fighting for it and kind of having to drag the other across the finish line. This was House, Senate, Governor's Mansion, Republicans and Democrats all recognizing together for the good of the state of Mississippi, our entire state, that this cancer center mattered, and it mattered big. And all of us get a little bit of credit here, going back to our message from earlier. That $100 million that is being allocated toward construction of the new cancer center is taxpayer dollars. And so every single one of you that pays taxes in Mississippi deserves to pat yourself on the back for this one.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Great to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. We've got lots coming up over the next week in Super Talk Mississippi world. We'll be sure to keep you up to date with all the things that are on the horizon. Happy to welcome, though, my next guest this morning. That's Kinney Ferris. She is Executive Director at Visit Oxford. If you were listening to Sports Talk Mississippi on Friday, you heard from Kinney as they were getting underway with the Double Decker Arts Festival. A little bit of rain on Friday night, but the party went on. Didn't knock it offline completely, and then just an absolutely gorgeous Saturday massive crowds for the food, the arts festival, the music as well. Kinney, good morning. Have you recovered from last weekend?
Good morning. Yes, I have recovered. Every year I say I'm getting a little older because it's just a little bit harder to move a few days after. But we've got a big team, a great team, and it's all hands on deck. And so you wouldn't even know that the festival happened now in Oxford. It's all cleaned up, and we're moving on to our next thing. So yeah, it's great. It was a great weekend.
That's always one of the amazing things to me. If you roll through the square, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on your way to church on Sunday morning, you look around, you're like, wait, wasn't there a stage here just yesterday? And there were stuff everywhere, and it's like it magically disappears. Although it's not magic, I guess.
That's right. It is not magic, but there are a lot of hard workers within the city, and they do that on football weekends and big weekends. I think the mayor refers to them as like underground Disney or something, but it's a little bit like that. They're kind of, it feels like magic almost, but yeah, we take pride in the way things look around here. And so, yeah, we want to do that with the festival as well. So, yeah.
If you find yourself in a sales job, probably there's some people that are just natural sellers, and they can sell ice to an Eskimo and all of the cliches that go along with that. But probably the best thing for being in a sales job is having a great product to sell. I know your job is executive director, and so you oversee a big team with Visit Oxford. But how much of the success that you and your team have had is simply because of the product that you have to sell?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times people don't realize that tourism offices are really in the business of sales, but that's exactly what we are doing every day. Is we're selling Oxford to visitors. So, we've done that. I've been here since 2009 in different roles, but we do that every day, whether it's through marketing, whether it's through trade shows, all over the country, sometimes internationally. We are trying to get different groups to come here to visit and spend money in our destination. And so, yeah, that's kind of over the last, I became director in 2019, at the end of 2019, and we had 5 staff members. And now we have 8, and part of that is because our budget's increased. It's actually doubled in those 7 years. And part of that was the hard work we were doing all along the way. And now we have more resources and we have to deliver more services with that larger budget. So, we've actually grown our staff. And speaking of sales, we have dedicated people to sales now. So we have a dedicated meeting salesperson and a dedicated sports salesperson here in Oxford, which is new to us. It's kind of been a dream, a goal of mine and our team for a long time. And so we finally have the resources and ability to do that. And I think the ROI is going to really show in the next year or so for the whole town. So, yeah.
On the sports side of things, M-Trade Park has been the driver of sports sales, and that is it's a city entity that partners with the park commission so that you have local recreational sports. But then on the weekends, it transitions into this hub for teams coming in from all over the Southeast, whether baseball, softball, soccer. I don't want to say that's low-hanging fruit, because I know there are a lot of people that have worked really, really hard to attract those tournaments, and the facility is incredible.
Sure.
But you were telling me that in terms of sports sales, with this new position in particular, that's an area that you're trying to grow. What does that look like going forward?
Yeah, so all over the city, we have M-Trade, which is kind of, like you said, our kind of the biggest feather in the cap, if you will. Like, it is our number one driver for youth sports. A lot of what we are doing there, though, is regional. And so our goal with this sports salesperson who's dedicated to it is to go to these national trade shows and try to bring people who are maybe more from the full Southeast region, or even an area in the country that just doesn't know about, great weather, great facilities here that they can actually bring their sports. And so if we bring people from a little further away, as you know, from traveling with your kids and sports, they're going to stay longer. So if I can get somebody to stay here, even one night, they're going to spend more money in Oxford in the state of Mississippi than if they, just drive down from Memphis for the day. So we love the ones that drive down from Memphis for the day, and we're so happy that they are. But our goal over the next couple of years is to really enhance and increase the usage of the facility at M-Trade, as well as some other facilities that we have in and around Oxford. We have a great tennis complex. We don't want to take away from locals. That is very important with tourism. We want to be able to provide things, that our local community loves. But when we bring visitors in to kind of pump, money into the economy, whether it's just in a
Lance, did we lose the audio there just for a second?
Yeah, something.
Not sure what happened. We lost Kenny's audio just for a second. She may have to hit a button there. We're going to try and do that. We'll continue our conversation with Kinney Ferris, Executive Director at Visit Oxford. She and I were talking offline, and you wonder, okay, what else might that be? If you've got baseball and you've got softball and you've got soccer and all of those things, in terms of other sports or other activities that you might attract, I think we got you back, Kenny. What might those be? What might those look like in the years ahead?
Yeah, sure. So years ahead, let's see, we've got anything that's field sports. So lacrosse, like I mentioned, tennis, we definitely want to lean into, and we already are. We have plans for more pickleball to come here to Oxford. So we're going to host the first ever pickleball kind of school state championship. It's not sanctioned sport yet for high schools, but it's getting there. And so we kind of got ahead of the game, and we're going to host them here this year. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I actually have a meeting about that tomorrow. So, really it's anything, any sport. Our new sports sales person, she's really looking into anything that would bring people your traditional sports, but then there's a lot out there that we can get people to come here and travel for. So.
I will compliment, I don't know if I'm breaking news to you in telling you this or not, but I'm going to compliment Brad Freeman and the team at M-Trade Park for their nimbleness and their willingness to help. So the state semifinals and championship for lacrosse, the MAIS level, were supposed to be on the coast. The weather forecast dictated it had to be moved, and as of last night, that's coming to Oxford on Saturday at M-Trade Park this week, and it was all because they said, hey, come on, whatever we can do to help, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I know.
You may have known about that already.
Talking. Well, I mean, also I know from your wife, actually. She texted this morning. It was like, can we get some information for these people that we're welcoming? I was like, this is amazing. So, that's the thing, is we have the facilities. We have these amazing fields. We have these amazing courts. But then also we have what people want when they go visit a place. We have wonderful dining, great hotels, a really fun atmosphere for families, and a really fun atmosphere for really anybody. So, we've had to work on that the last couple of years. It's kind of what we call destination development in the industry, but trying to get some more things for kids. That has been kind of our missing link. And so we've really worked with developers. Obviously, the Tourism Council doesn't necessarily own things that we can build facilities. And so we just have to work with local business owners to kind of enhance what they're already planning to do and tell them what the needs are, when we talk to visitors. So it kind of is a full circle.
Yeah, last thing for you, less than a minute until the break. You got any numbers from Double Decker? How many people were there, economic impact?
I do.
What you got?
I do. So we're still working on the full economic impact, but we know that we had 111,700 people to the square. But Richard, this is the thing that blows my mind. not only do we have double decker happening in Oxford, just on Saturday we had 2 games against Georgia with baseball. We had the Chargers playoff game over at Oxford High School, which was also one of our shuttle stops for the festival. We had Meet the Rebs that morning, and then M-Trade had 110 baseball teams.
Wow.
So,
busy weekend.
Overall for the weekend, we had 228,000 people.
From the Seabrook.com. Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
If you missed those numbers at the very end of our conversation with Kinney Ferris, Executive Director at Visit Oxford, she said that the Double Decker Arts Festival last Saturday drew 111,700 people, and that Oxford as a whole on Saturday had 228,000 people here when you combined Double Decker, Ole Miss baseball, Oxford High School playoff baseball, and 110 teams that were in town at M-Trade Park. So quite the weekend in Oxford. Yesterday was quite the day at the Supreme Court. And to help us break down what happened in yesterday's SCOTUS decision, Christopher Green joins us right now, a former professor at the Ole Miss Law School and now at The Ohio State University. He works in the Chase Center for Civics, Culture, and Society. He is a constitutional scholar and an expert on the Supreme Court, and he was very kind to respond to a text message from Alex at 10 o'clock at my request last night and say, yes, I'll talk to Richard. Chris, good morning. Great to see you again.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Sometimes when we get a major result, we get reactions from opposite sides, where one side is celebrating and dancing in the streets, and the other side is gnashing their teeth and looking for sackcloth to rip and ashes to put on their head. That seems kind of to be the reaction. I'm curious if your reaction to yesterday's decision in Louisiana versus Callais is as polarizing as much of the online community has made it seem like.
Well, so I'm always looking for different stuff than everybody else is.
Sure.
I would love it. So the biggest thing, the first thing I look for is, are they cleaning up any of the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment interpretations that they've made? So if you look at, actually go back to Reconstruction and look at 14th Amendment. So 14th Amendment is a general guarantee of privileges of citizens, equal protection, due process. The main clause is about civil rights. And there's a bunch of stuff in 1866 saying it's not voting at all. So I'm thinking, is there some kind of indication they're going to re-acknowledge that? Well, no, there wasn't. So I'm always disappointed at that. The 15th Amendment is about voting rights, but it's about racial abridgment of voting rights, not political. So essentially what they did was say, so in 2022, they said political gerrymanders are not justiciable. And yesterday they said, if you want to go for it, go for it. It's not just that the courts aren't going to step in. They're affirmatively going to bless it. So if the Republicans want to say we want to elect as many Republicans as we possibly can, that is a constitutionally permissible thing to do. The way, and it's defensible. It sort of fits with original meaning in a certain sort of way because political considerations. You can't limit people's civil rights based on politics. You can't say Democrats aren't allowed to make contracts or aren't allowed to go to school or something like that. But you are allowed to say, hey, we're trying to construct a party system that's going to allow people who we think make better decisions, the Republicans think, to make the decisions. So political rights are distinct from civil rights. That's not how they put it, but there's a big distinction between political motivations and racial motivations, and the 15th Amendment and the Voting Rights Act that implements it are confined to things that have to do with racial motivations, not racial equality in results. So I wouldn't say it's clarifying. It's somewhat, it's making clear that the Voting Rights Act is not allowed to shift from a motive-based inquiry to a results-based inquiry. Which had been, it's really been unclear since about 1986.
We hear the term BVAP a lot, black voting age population. We hear about racial gerrymandering and Jim Crow laws and all of the things. And we have heard many, many people in the last 18 hours say, this is an affront to the Voting Rights Act. This is an affront to those who fought during the civil rights movement and in some cases gave the ultimate sacrifice, the sacrifice of their own life to stand up for voting rights for people of color. Did this ruling yesterday do those things that many on the left are accusing it of doing?
So I think it's certainly extreme to say this is gutting the Voting Rights Act. It is decisively rejecting a particular vision of voting rights in terms of results, in terms of proportional representation. If you think the BVAP statewide should be the percentage of representatives going to Congress, percentage of the House and Senate locally, that actually is a rule that the text of the Voting Rights Act says it is not doing. So even in 1982, the advocates of that vision knew that they had not won. The other language in the same section kind of suggested that they were closer to being in the statute than the court said yesterday, but they said yesterday no. To deny or abridge voting rights based on race means to be racially motivated, and all you get is equal opportunity to elect somebody of your race. You don't get equal results. You're not going to have the artificial creation of a bunch of safe seats for folks like Benny Thompson's district. You're going to, it's not, they're going to have a chance to vote, but it's going to be, if you eschew racial considerations in constructing a safe seat, which there looks like they're basically required to do, unless there's circumstances are strongly indicative of illicit racial motivation. Unless you have that, you're not allowed to pay attention to race except to fix identified discrimination on the basis of race in the past. And Mississippi, we're Mississippi, right? So we've got a lot of history, and there's always a question of how specific a tie do you need between that history and what we're doing today. Some people almost act like everything the state does is unconstitutional. Carlton Reeves, Judge Reeves, he was appealing to racial stuff, saying our abortion law was unconstitutional. Almost the backdrop is like everything they do is unconstitutional. So for people who are strongly suspicious of everything the state does, they're gonna smell a rat, and they're gonna think the Supreme Court is just turning a blind eye to smelling a rat. But I think Justice Kagan was right. This is kind of the logical outgrowth of what they did in 2022 about partisan gerrymandering. If you're allowed to just partisanly have a partisan-based gerrymander with a free hand, nobody thinks. There's not a whole lot of people who think that I'm fine with white Democrats getting elected, but not with black Democrats. It's ideology. There are a handful of black Republicans getting elected. You have the Tim Scotts of the world. You have a huge celebration of people like Clarence Thomas. They're not as numerous, but it seems pretty clearly to be partisan in terms of motivation for redistricting, and it looks like there's going to be a fairly free hand to redistrict now without having to have carve-outs to get a Delta seat the way it is.
Yeah, and so we see the House in Florida yesterday convene and immediately approve new voting districts in the state of Florida. They were ready
poised.
to go.
That's kind of unreal.
Mississippi, with the announcement from the governor of the special session, is, I guess, now 20 days away. I think May 20th at 1 o'clock is when the legislature is going to convene here. That was more about Supreme Court districts. It's going to be interesting to me to see if there is a widening of that special session call to address congressional voting districts. I've asked a number of people, Chris, in the last, 3 or 4 months, is there a political appetite to take on that fight in Mississippi? And to this point, the answer has been overwhelmingly, nah, 3 out of 4 is pretty good. Do you foresee pressure on the governor, the legislature, to push for Mississippi to redistrict congressionally so that 4-0 is in the offering? But recognizing that also brings into brings the possibility of 2-2.
Oh yeah. So I mean, this is one of the things with the closer the more aggressive you are with the gerrymander. If you think like, we're not going to just have a bunch of 60-40 seats, we're going to have 55-45, we're going to get 52-48, 51-49. The closer you do that, then suddenly, if this Iran stuff goes on and people are still paying a lot more at the pump, like just a few bits of margin for error, it's more dangerous. There are certainly some people pushing for this, and there's another thing, which is that the argument for redistricting the the Supreme Court districts, but then they apply to all these the 3 district things to which one person, one vote doesn't apply. The reason that is said to be done is a judgment that almost certainly will have to be reconsidered after Louisiana versus Callais. So the basis for that holding itself is it has been somewhat undermined. Section 121 of the state constitution says, so we can call a special session, and the governor can just add to that whenever he wants. So he doesn't have to call a special session to add. So he has the ability to stack up the agenda. All the committees are still able to operate and block things. So
sure,
who knows quite what they'll be doing.
Christopher, we're out of time. I appreciate so much your time this morning.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics? Yes. You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Whew. 3 hours that raced by. We could use at least one more. Maybe 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Lance, I have something for you. I do not know if it is real or it is AI generated, and I do not care because it's funny. Are you ready?
Yes.
From X. A truck loaded with thousands of copies of Roget's Thesaurus. Would the plural of that be thesauri?
I don't know. That's a good one.
Spilled its load, leaving New York. Witnesses were stunned, startled, aghast, stupefied, confused, shocked, rattled, paralyzed, dazed, bewildered, surprised, dumbfounded, flabbergasted, confounded, astonished, and numbed. Let that one sink in for a second. The first response, AOC got caught up in the debacle and was heard saying, "I never thought I would experience Jurassic Park in real life. There are thesauruses everywhere." Hey!
There we go.
There we go.
There had to be a glass of wine in her hand when she said that, just to make it right.
It's possible. It is possible.
Or a box, yeah.
If I understood what Christopher Green told us correctly, and by the way, in addition to being what I described as a constitutional scholar and an expert on the Supreme Court, there has been a significant amount of work, like his life's work, focused on the 14th and 15th Amendments of the Constitution. That has been his particular area of expertise. So I really, really appreciate him squeezing us in and spending some time talking about that result yesterday. If I understood what he said correctly, redistricting or districting, drawing district lines based on partisanship is okay. Drawing lines solely on the basis of race is not.
I would have to agree. And
I think that's the crux of what was said, decided.
And you can't deny a citizen the right to vote based on color, race, or previous condition of servitude. So the opposite would have to be true as well, right? You can't enhance someone to be elected based on race, color, and previous condition of servitude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is to say, and by the way, I mean, so in this particular case, Louisiana versus Callais, and I think I had been saying Calais as opposed to Callais, so my apologies for that. Was not up to date on my French Cajun.
It's like a Fire Island way of saying Cali, Calais.
Yeah, if you look at that district, like a picture of the district, it starts in northwest Louisiana around Shreveport, and it looks like a snake that runs diagonally northwest to southeast through the middle of the state, far enough into New Orleans to pick up, presumably, enough of the black vote to be able to elect a Democrat.
We have one kind of like that.
That's the way it's drawn. It is drawn specifically for racial purposes, for the purpose of giving the opportunity to elect a Democrat. And if you look at, frankly, if you look at the way the 2nd Congressional District in Mississippi is drawn.
Yes, sir.
Those ins and outs as it works its way south through the Delta and then conspicuously turns east and works its way into Hinds County and then down a little bit and kind of back into the west and farther south. It is a district that is drawn so that the black population is large enough within District 2 that Benny Thompson can be elected. We are at least of the belief that with regard to the special session, when a special session is called, it is for a specific issue, but issues can be added by the governor. He can expand the scope of the special session. And so I'm looking for two things in 20 days. May 20th, 1 o'clock is when the legislature is set to gavel back in. I'm looking for two things. One, will Governor Reeves, as is his prerogative, expand the special session to include the redrawing of the congressional map in Mississippi? Absent the governor calling for an expanded session, is there any legal protocol that allows for the lieutenant governor or the speaker to expand the session, to widen the scope? That is not generally thought of as being a thing. Is there any digging that is going on? Maybe it won't matter. Maybe the governor is going to say, hey, we're going to do congressional districts while we're here too. Let's do it. Knock it out. We will have to wait and see on that. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.